Dr. Rao, distinguished panel members, distinguished audience. The topic we are discussing here is emerging trends in higher education and assessment, the way forward. When we talk about higher education, we know that in 1991 we have liberalized the economy. But so far, education we are not liberalized the way it should be liberalized to address the gap. Still it is in the clutches of policymakers. There are multiple policymakers in our country. Everybody has very rigid frameworks. Their concept doesn't match with each other. If you take an institution, it has to report to an university, or it has to report to the state government, higher education department. And there is some body at a national level who also regulates, and every three bodies having different norm of evaluating and assessing of that institution. So when we think about, must have a space if we want to change or address the issues in higher education. We must be free mind. I don't know about Honorable Vice Chancellor, but normally we find that all head of the institutions, either they are stuck up with the problem of enrollment, admissions, or assessment of students, and the placement problem or employability issues. Very less time nowadays people get to think creatively about how reforms we can make in our education. There are two things. On one side, we find that the gross enrollment ratio is 2012, the government has declared is 12.4% in India, which we dream to have 27% by 2020. To fill up this gap, there is a thought process that 800 plus more universities should be created in India. And the institutes of higher learning or colleges, almost 50 to 60,000 should be created. All it needs of infrastructure cost of more than 3 lakh crore rupees to be invested. In addition to that, in existing institutes of higher learning, we have average deficit of 40% teaching faculty members. I'm not going by cadre. PhDs, Nobel laureates, experts, scientists. Normally we have 30 to 40%, including the educational institute like MBBS teaching institutes. So there is a gap of existing institute where we do not get sufficient teachers. Our AICT has expressed concern that nowadays, because every student wants to become engineer or a doctor, nobody going to the education of basic sciences. And in future, there is a lot of dearth of teachers who can teach physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Because very few students are going for this basic. Our traditional universities, there is no students, or there is lack of students, there is less students. On the other side, we see that the higher education in the technical sphere has expanded over the last few years, at least for 4 or 5 years, and we find that in spite of creating a capacity building in technical education, again, there is a 20 to 30% shortage of students, so they are facing enrollment problem nowadays. On one side, we see that we have to reach from 12.4% to 27%, so more students should be given opportunity to enter into the higher education. On the other side, we see that the institute which we have created in the last few years doesn't have students. Many institutions in this year have applied for closure because they do not have a student at all. They do not get proper number of teachers at all. So we have to understand that where is the gap? Are we creating an institute which are not required for the student, which are not desired for the student, which do not have support of the faculty member? It's not like a restaurant which we create an infrastructure, have a cook, and then start. We need to have teachers, proper system. Students should be enrolled properly. So without understanding what is our requirement, what happened 150 years we were doing the education with British system, creating BA, BComs, and graduates. After that, now we moved to the technical education. We have created a lot of institutions, a lot of capacity building on paper. for the higher education institutes, but really there are no takers. We find it very difficult for an institutions to get good students, forget about good students, to get the students. So there is no space. We find that we have to think that why there is a gap. On one side is a shortage of teachers, on other side there is a shortage of students, and on third side on paper we are finding that there are more institutes need to be created in our country to educate, because if we have to encash this demographic dividend which we are getting of the young students or young population of age between 18 to 24, from which we are believing that will conquer the world if they are properly educated. So we have to create that, how they are properly educated, how their educational needs are being addressed. From 12.4%, how we can reach to 27 or 25% in next 18 years time. So there is a gap, and we need to understand and address that gap, that what kind of educational formats need to be created. Is there any problem of access to education? Because if we go by gross enrollment ratio in general, if we go state by state, it is 6%, as low as 6%, and as high as 25% in the 3 states of India. So only 3 states have reached to 25%. Many states are in less than 10%. So we have to see that it is not spread properly. So access to education is to be seen. Then affordability of education. We find that in last few years, because of stringent norms of all these policymakers, a lot of infrastructural requirement has been increased. But proportionately, the fees of the cost of education, can't we find a product like Nano in education where we can give engineering degree complete 4 years in 1 lakh rupees? We have to find some kind of innovative formats in our education. The cost of education is increased. It is not affordable for everybody. There are a lot of institutions who are giving loans to the student, but the cost of education of engineering ranges from 6 lakh to 10 lakhs, may not be affordable for everybody who want to become engineer. So education or choice of education become the choice of affordability. How much I can afford. If I can afford, then I can become doctor. It doesn't mean that I have desire to become doctor, I have attributes to become doctor. It only comes to how much I can afford. If I afford to become doctor, I will become doctor. If I afford to become engineer, I become engineer. Not depends upon what attributes, what qualities I have in mind, and then there is an educational format available for me in this country. So how we are going to address the needs of this huge population base, affordability, quality of education. Most of the universities in India are overloaded now. There most of the time is spent in doing eligibility process of the students and assessment of answer sheet, because on an average, every university is having 4 to 5 lakh students. Every student gives minimum 8 to 10 papers in a year, if you consider semester-wise. So the size of answer sheet with every university has to assess and give the result. So 2 to 3 months every semester they spend on the evaluation system only. So we have to really rethink that, can we change some format where this system of evaluation, that assessment is the word in our today's topic. First we have to see that how we are going to practically, realistically assess the student. We don't get teachers to assess our answer sheet. That is the reality. If we have 4-5 lakh answer sheet, teacher doesn't turn up to assess the answer sheet, the result get delayed. In most of the universities, you get a lot of problems in admission process. Most of the place, the result and admission process takes 6 to 8 months. For a 2 years or 3 years program, student has to go through a lot of process of admission from 6 to 8 months. The notification for CAT or for MBA program comes in December, and the cutoff date for admission is 30th September. So almost 3 months of the learning process is lost in the admission process. Are we going to address to reduce with the use of information, communication technology? A lot of online things are there. We need to address these practical and real issues. Our country, we have huge number of students. So we have to see that what kind of format is suitable for us for educating masses without diluting the quality. Because what happens that when the number of students increases, there is chances or there are instances where the quality goes down, and you are aware that the degree like normal graduate degree in India has lost its value. BA, BCom, nobody recognizes at all. Earlier you see in 1960 or 1970, a graduate is treated or is seen with a different eyes. Even same happened with the master's degree also. If you say that I'm MBA, does that MBA sounding in 1970 or 80 and sounding today has the same value? No. Because it's only a stamp it has become where you call yourself as a post-graduation, but the increase in the quality attributes, your skills is not been proportionately increased. That's why the industry say that the 75% of the graduate which they get with engineering degree or with post-graduation degree doesn't have the quality. If we ask for a dosa, we know that what ingredients it has. If doesn't get that ingredients, if you're not satisfied, same thing happens with the education. We get engineers, but they don't speak English, they don't know how to communicate, and they don't know the basic subjects also most of the times. We have to really relook that. Only we are just creating input and output without putting any process of value addition in between. There is something who comes at 12th, we process it for 4 months without value addition, and after 4 years, only time gap make him graduate or postgraduate, or is there real value addition happens at the end of the day. We have 2 assessment agencies, National Board of Accreditation and the NAC also, but their more focus is on infrastructure. They are more concerned about the infrastructure, the paint of the building, the furnishing of the building, rather than checking that how the student is being processed, at what point the value is added to the student, and how institute ensures that the proper value is added to the student. Then the next important thing before I conclude that we have to create a different ecosystem with the changing environment, which gives chance for innovation, which gives chance for creativity. You cannot have a fixed infrastructure, fixed budget, something, a fixed structure, fixed reporting system. If you want something creative, innovative has to be made. Little bit flexibility in your accounting system, auditing system for the people who are doing research, people who are doing innovative things. We need to give them a bigger space in our regular ecosystem where they can work and then do something innovatively. For others, continuing education, if we have to reach to everybody, can we have a degree where upgradation is required? Because a lot of degrees like MBBS or law, if I have done in 1970, what is the relevance of that knowledge today? So can we have a degree with an expiry date where after a certain period of time you have to again give some examination and then recertify the validity of your degree? Otherwise, in IT or in technological field, many degrees become obsolete. Because in my graduation, I learned Foxborough language. If I would have got a gold medal in that graduation, what is the relevance of that language or that gold medal today? Nothing. So we need to have relook that can we have upgradation of that degree after a certain point of time, 8 years or 10 years, come back to the same university, upgrade yourself, give an examination, and validate, revalidate your degree if you are using it for the practical purpose. For the photo frame, okay. Next is entry and exit to a degree should be made flexible. A student who joins after 12 some degree should come out at some point of time and then come back and join some other program or same program. So entry and exit should be made easable. What we do is, in our system, there is a lot of social pressure, and because of pressure, student go for some program. And there is no exit for that student. If he thinks that I'm not fit for this course, he has to either suicide or complete the course the way he wants to do. There is no exit. So exit and switching over to some other course should be made flexibly possible. Open education system where student can choose from the basket. He can choose from core competencies, the full credit courses, and half credit courses he can choose as music or something, some creative other thing, where learning becomes more innovative, more interactive, and more practical, so we'll be able to retain the students. He does not have to do multiple courses. If he does one courses with some core competency and some half credit courses or short program, we do simultaneously, where he can learn the other qualities he wants to imbibe in him, like music, communication, or whatever other things. Then one important thing which I have seen is non-degree courses. For the people who are doing jobs, they can do Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, some non-degree courses. They can earn credit. After sufficient earning of the credit, can they go back to the university and ask for a degree certification? So the cost of that degree is easy, and people can do over a period of time. In 5 years, I can do engineering. If I have to earn certain credit, that is non-degree credit, first I earn, and then I go back and apply to the university, give some examination, and get it converted into the degree program. So that is the thought process which I have, that really we have to think assessment of our education and emerging trends that we need to address the issues of the coming population, who is a young population, who has access to computer information technology, and they are more informed than us to how we can bring them to the classroom. That is the challenge before us. Thank you very much.